What's up, you guys? My name's Allie and welcome to my channel. Today we're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna do a little story time, and we're gonna do a little spooky story time. If you read the title of this video, you know I'm gonna tell you about the ghost in our apartment. Now, I no longer live in this apartment. I live in a house. We've been here for about 1.5 years, so it's been a while since all this stuff happened, but it is clear as day in my mind. And I'll tell you before we get started that I do believe in ghosts, kind of, not like Casper ghosts, but like the presence of people who have died. I do believe in that very much. I do very much believe in demons as well. I believe they are two different things, and from talking to a lot of people who know a lot more about these types of things than me and reading about it, that seems to be kind of the consensus of a lot of people, that there's the presence of people who have died and then there's demons. We're not talking about a demon here, I don't think. I'm quite sure that our experiences were in dealing with someone who had died, not a demon. If I thought the things that happened to me and my husband were from a demon, I would definitely not be talking about it, because I definitely believe that when you talk about stuff like that, it invites it in, and I do not want that. No demons allowed, please. Yes. So anyway, this all started back in early 2018. My husband moved into this apartment in February of 2018. This was a few months before we were going to get married. I was still living with my parents at the time. So Ryan moves into this apartment in February, and he doesn't really say anything during this time, but I'll kind of circle back and talk more about that later. So then I moved in right after we got married at the end of April, like very early May, and I started noticing weird things pretty much immediately. And when I brought up some of these weird things to Ryan and asked him if they had been happening, you know, the 3 months that he was living there before I was, he was like, oh yeah, like, I guess some of this stuff was happening. Like, he didn't really think much of it. And I didn't really think much of some of these things, which I'll get into, don't worry, in the first couple months either. But then more and more things started happening, and now I'm like absolutely positive that we had a ghost, slash, I don't know if it's still there. But some of the first things that I started noticing were things that you could kind of explain away on their own. And they were things like the door closing, which I feel like, you know, every once in a while a door might kind of close on its own because of a breeze or draft, or I don't know. But there would be clear cases of the door being like open. Not maybe like 100% open, but like solidly halfway. You know, there's no draft, there's no airflow, and it just like would close like all the way. So, you know, those are the kind of things that when you see that in your head, you're like, you know, there's an explanation for sure, for sure. And I did that, as I said, for a while. So that was like one of the earliest things that I noticed. Some other things that I would notice were things would fall over frequently. So our apartment was on the 2nd floor, but how it worked was like you would open the door on the bottom and then you were in our apartment already, but then you would go upstairs, and then all of our living space was like on that 2nd floor. And so when I would go to work, I would be like at the top of the stairs, like about to walk down, and like probably like 10 times literally something would fall over, like right as I was about to like walk down the stairs. And another thing, just like the door, I was like, at first, you know, it's just a weird thing, like something fell over. But then things would fall over that, like, they're just not gonna fall over on their own. And it always would happen as I was about to walk down the stairs. So that was happening, the door was closing, and then stuff got really weird. And this is when I really was like, I think there's something here. Because really up until this point, I was like, okay, like this stuff's weird, but I wasn't thinking ghostly presence yet. Okay, so for this next part, I have to give you a teensy bit of backstory. So Ryan had recently started a new job, just probably like a month after he had moved in. It was before we got married, before I moved in. And when he got this new job, he got a new phone. But he kept his old phone. Eventually it ran out of batteries, you know. He just put it in a drawer in the bedside table. Makes sense, you know. So one day, probably like 3 months after we got married and I moved in, I go in the guest bathroom, because, you know, a lot of times I'd get ready or use the guest bathroom if Ryan was using our main bathroom, and I go under the sink and I find his old phone. And I'm like,
why did you put your phone under the guest bathroom sink?
And Ryan was like, I didn't put it there, blah, blah, blah. And I didn't believe him. I just thought he was like being weird or playing a trick on me or something. So we put it back. And then it happens again. It's in the bathroom again. And again, I think Ryan is playing a trick on me. And then it happens another time, except this time the phone is moved to our guest bedroom. It just was kind of like sitting in the guest bedroom. Again, I'm like,
Ryan, like, for real, stop messing with me.
He thinks I'm messing with him. It's like this whole thing. And meanwhile, while all this is happening, the doors are still shutting, things are still falling over, our dog Gibby starts laying at the top of our steps, just barking incessantly at the steps. And that is very unlike him. He doesn't just bark. We've been in our new house, as I said, for about 1.5 years. He's never just like barked at nothing, especially like over and over and over again. So at this point, I'm definitely thinking like something is really weird. Like, I don't know what it is. Something's odd. But I will also say too, like, I'm a wimp. I am afraid of most things, I would say. Definitely like scary things, like ghost things. I don't like horror movies. I don't like haunted houses. I just like get really, really freaked out by that kind of stuff. But this whole time, even though I was like, this stuff is super weird, I genuinely did not feel scared. I didn't feel like uncomfortable even. And I am definitely someone who like gets a lot of vibes and like feelings, whatever you want to call it. But I really didn't feel nervous at all or scared. So even though I began to think like there was something in the apartment, I didn't think it was going to hurt us. I wasn't like afraid of it necessarily. I just like wanted it all to kind of stop. But then I did get freaked out because this whole time, even though I feel like something is going on for sure, as I said, I don't think it's gonna hurt us. It's dealing a lot in like the guest bathroom and guest bedroom and even stairs. Like all of this stuff is away from like where Ryan and I sleep and live for the most part. But then Ryan went away for like a Friday to Sunday type thing. And in that time I left. And before I left, everything was in order. Ryan's old phone was in the side table. So I left and then I came back. This whole time Ryan's gone. So Ryan couldn't have done anything because he is like out of state. I come back and the phone is in my bed. Like I literally get goosebumps still, like thinking about it. I unmade my bed when I came back and the phone was in my bed. Again, Ryan is out of town. No one else has access to our apartment. I freaked out, like I really was scared right then because the ghostly presence, whatever you want to call it, now had entered where we sleep. And that's when I was kind of like, like too close for comfort. Like this is really freaking me out. As this is all going on too, I would frequently talk to like my cousin and my best friend and like other people on the phone in our apartment about everything that was going on. And it never failed that like the next day after I would have one of those conversations in the apartment about the ghost thing, something would happen the next day. It was almost like it was saying like, hey, like you think something's going on? Well, guess what it is. Like, I'm here, pay attention to me, whatever. But I still was not afraid. And I actually would start being like,
could you not, could you not knock stuff over? Could you not like shut the door?
Another freaky thing though that did happen was, as I said, like a lot of times the door would shut. But one time I saw the doorknob turn and like I thought Ryan was gonna come in type thing, and he wasn't home. Like it was like before he was gonna be home. So that freaked me out, like the doorknob actually turning, like somebody's hand was on it. I did not like that. So all these weird things are happening, right? Ryan and I definitely, myself especially, because I feel like I experienced a lot more of this stuff than Ryan did. Maybe just because he didn't pay attention or whatever. Maybe I am like more aware or like susceptible to these types of things. I don't know. But the one thing that he could not deny, even though it didn't really happen to him, was this. Picture this. I'm driving in my car. I'm not in the apartment. Ryan is in the apartment. He's like chilling in our living room. We were talking about what we were gonna give his little brother for his birthday, I believe. So I'm on the phone, I'm talking, and I said,
what if we just give him like $20?
So when I said this, I'm expecting Ryan's response, right? I do get a response from Ryan, but at the same time that Ryan is talking, I hear another voice, and excuse my language, but the voice said, $20, son of a bitch. I kid you not, I could not make this stuff up. Clear as day, I heard this voice. It was the voice of like a man, for sure a man, probably like a middle-aged man. And it wasn't like malicious, it just was kind of like, $20, son of a bitch. Just like it was part of the conversation, just like it was listening to me and giving its own input. So at the time that this voice said that, Ryan said something else, like, sure, that's okay. So I say, after I hear these two voices together, clear as day, hearing both what they're saying, could not mistake one for the other. I'm still like in a little bit of denial that anything wackadoodle happened. And I said to Ryan, like,
how did you do that?
And he was like, how did I do what? And I said,
you like said two things.
In my mind, I knew that the second voice did not sound like Ryan, like it just sounded like a different person, a different man, but I was trying to, like convince myself of the only thing that would make sense, that like maybe Ryan had said two things and like the phone cut out weird. And I told Ryan what I heard this voice clearly say, and Ryan was like, I did not say that. Like, I did not say that. And both of us at the same time just got like the biggest goosebumps, and like I literally still get goosebumps when I think about how clear as day this voice was. That was, I think, the nail in the coffin for Ryan for truly believing that we had a ghost. So that was scary, because that was the first time we'd ever like had full contact, I guess, like heard the voice of this thing. But it is really interesting to me because like if you watch videos of other people talking about like their encounters with ghosts or like read stuff, a lot of them will say, like you can hear things through technology. And it kind of all makes sense in a way, because it kept moving this phone around and we kind of were like, is it trying to talk to us like through the phone? And I will tell you, like, I was terrified to charge the phone because I was afraid there were going to be like all these like voice memos on it or something. Ryan did eventually charge it and there was nothing on there, so like thank God for that. But it was odd that it was like interested in the phone and we heard it through a phone. And like all these other people say that you can hear things through like walkie-talkies or by recording something and then playing it back, and then you can hear the voice of somebody through it when you do it that way. So it's really weird, right? Like very, very strange. Another odd thing was, so we had like people living below us, but for probably like 3 months, that apartment sat empty because the people that lived there at the beginning of the time we lived there had moved out and they were still like looking to fill it. During that time that no one was living there, the ghost like went away. But then other people moved in and the ghost came back. So we figured maybe he was just like chilling in another apartment by himself. And then when people moved in, maybe he liked us better and he came back up to live with us. And it was interesting too, I think, because I think when you think of ghosts, you think of people that lived in like the 1700s or something. But I genuinely think that this person did not die that long ago just by how he spoke. I don't know, it was weird. We did move not just because of that, but just because we wanted to buy a house. And I was definitely kind of afraid that we would like bring this ghost with us, because I've heard of that happening to a lot of different people, especially if it like liked us and was kind of attached to us or something. But thank God we did not bring him here. I hope he is up in heaven, resting in peace. And that is the one thing I'll say I wish we would have done differently. So my husband and I are Catholic, and even if you're not Catholic, you could do this if you feel like you have like a ghost or something. We should have brought a priest in anyway to bless our apartment, and especially when we felt like that stuff going on, like we definitely should have brought our priest in. And after talking to some of my priest friends, they said like there's actually specific prayers that they say that kind of release those souls to heaven. So I feel kind of bad, like I feel like we could have helped this guy out a little bit more if we would have known all that kind of stuff. But yeah, for future reference, if you have a ghost, just call a priest. And I will say too, like I've talked to my priest friends about demons and they are like, don't even mess with it, like don't do Ouija boards, don't invite them in, like don't do all that stuff, like you do not want to mess with it at all. But after telling them like our story, they definitely thought it was a person who had died. It wasn't a demon. And as I said before, I never felt like afraid. I never felt like I was gonna get attacked or anything like that. It just felt like somebody else was there, like just living in that space as well. So very, very interesting. That's our ghost in the apartment story. Let me know if you've ever had any like ghostly encounters. I do definitely think I am someone who doesn't have like a sixth sense like I think some people really do, but maybe is like a little bit more aware than an average person or someone who like is a big doubter. I think you're just gonna like shove all that stuff away and not pay attention to it. But of all the things that happened, I think it is quite clear that we had a ghost. A friendly ghost, I think, but a ghost nonetheless. Thanks so much for watching, and if you want to have like more story time videos like this, let me know. I never know if people want to just like listen to me talk, but I thought this was an interesting story for sure that people might want to hear. But if you like this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I make new videos every Monday and Friday, mostly about like thrifty fashion and stuff like that, but you know, with like the occasional ghost story thrown in. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!